Yes, Mr. Millett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to call the very first of the inquiry's factual witness statements. Mr. Andrew Bell. Good afternoon, Mr. Bell.
Good morning.
I think, first of all, you should be sworn.
Okay.
I do solemnly, sincerely and truly
I do solemnly, sincerely and truly
declare and affirm
that
the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you very much. Are you comfortable standing up?
Yes, thank you, sir.
Right, thank you.
Mr. Bell, could we start, please, by your giving the inquiry your full name
Andrew John Bell,
and your current rank at the London Fire Brigade?
Deputy Assistant Commissioner.
When did you join the London Fire Brigade?
September 1993.
And could you just give us, please, a very brief summary of your career to date?
I joined in 1993 as a recruit firefighter. I stayed with London Fire Brigade in the role of firefighter till 1996. I then transferred to East Sussex Fire and Rescue, where I stayed until 2011. I performed the roles of firefighter through to station manager with that service. I was then seconded to the Fire and Rescue Service National Resilience Team in 2011. I stayed there until 2013 when I rejoined London Fire Brigade. I then went on secondment again to the National Resilience Assurance Team in 2015 and then rejoined London Fire Brigade again as Deputy Assistant Commissioner in October 2016.
Thank you very much. Now, you have provided to the inquiry a witness statement, I think.
Yes.
Which you should have in front of you.
I have.
And the relativity reference to that document is LFB 00003588. And we have it there on the screen. If you could please turn to the second page of that document, you will see a printed statement of truth with a signature in it. Is that signature yours?
It is.
And it's dated the 14th of June 2018. Have you read this statement recently?
Not since I've given it.
Okay. And at the time that you gave it, did you believe that its contents were true?
Absolutely.
And can you confirm the truth of the contents now for the inquiry?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Now, that statement
Mr. Millett, do you want us to be able to read it on the screen?
No, I think I will.
All right,
I'm happy to let that go formally into the record. That if Mr. Chairman, if you're happy for me to do that.
Yes, it's just that if you wanted us to be able to read the text, in my case at least, it'll have to be magnified quite a lot.
Which I believe it has been.
Very good. I'm content to let you read that to yourself, and I'm going to proceed on the basis that as a document is read into the record rather than me reading it aloud or asking you to do so,
Yes.
Mr. Bell. So that is the statement. You've confirmed it's true, so it's in evidence. Can I start by asking you about your current role at the London Fire Brigade? What is that?
My current role is the head of the Grenfell Tower Investigation and Review Team.
Otherwise known as GTIRT.
Absolutely.
And can you please just tell me who commissioned that investigation?
The London Fire Commissioner, Danny Cotton.
Danny Cotton. And when did she commission it?
In the days after the Grenfell Tower fire.
And when did you start your work?
Probably about a week afterwards, but the formal establishment of the team was at the beginning of July 2017.
And how independent is it from the day-to-day work of the London Fire Brigade?
Completely independent, so I have an independent role. I report to no one. I work outside of the normal business processes and governance arrangements within London Fire Brigade in order to maintain that independence.
Thank you. And in summary, what work has your team done so far to date?
So far to date, the establishment of the team and the terms of reference, which includes that establishment of independence, agreeing the ways of working both with yourselves as the inquiry and Operation Northley, the Metropolitan Police's criminal investigation, and we have protocols with them around the handling of witnesses and information sharing with them. excuse me. So the gathering and collating of evidence we believe to be relevant to both your inquiry and the criminal investigation, and the completion of our own statutory duty to review our own performance. And then the review of that evidence has been ongoing since July.
Thank you very much. Now, it is about to be a matter of record that you produced the operational response document, or report, dated the 24th of May 2014. And the relativity reference to that is LFB 00001914. Can I just ask you one or two questions about that document, Mr. Bell?
Of course.
In summary, what does that document do?
So that document aims to produce a factual account of what we understand, based on the evidence we have available at this time, as to what happened on the night, both the actions of the firefighters and commanders on the ground and the decisions behind those actions.
Who compiled this document?
I have a team of investigators working to review the evidence, and they have produced the timeline which has informed that document.
Have you reviewed this document yourself?
I have.
Have you sought to satisfy yourself that its contents are true and accurate within the allowances for error expressly referred to in it?
I have.
Did you sample test the times and events described against the source data referred to in it?
Yes.
And having done that, Mr. Bell, how confident are you that the facts described in it, allowing for the tolerances described in it, are true and accurate?
They are true and accurate, but I would ask the Chair and yourself to note that we have used CCTV footage extensively to corroborate the evidence that's provided in witness and contemporaneous notes. There are a number of individuals that have reviewed that CCTV evidence, and in terms of the timing, you might understand quite naturally some of those have applied a different time as to when they're describing or applying a time to a series of events. Some of them will have done that right at the start of that series of events that's described, some of them will have done a few seconds into that series of events.
Very good. So, can I see if I've understood your evidence? That the timestamp, is this right, listed or identified in the operational response report for each event, where it's identified to relate to a CCTV snapshot and a particular camera, that time is the start of a sequence, is this right, in which the facts described occur?
Generally it will be the start of that sequence, but that may be a few seconds here and there. In terms of the document itself, is to help me deliver my own statutory duty to review my own performance, or the organisation's own performance. The forensic analysis that I know that you are now applying to it may mean that some of those series of events may be a few seconds out.
Very good. And who verified the identity of each firefighter on the CCTV footage where they are identified in the ORR?
So that's generally done through team knowledge. The team will review that CCTV footage extensively. Through their own knowledge, they are able to generally identify the majority of firefighters. In order to assure ourselves around that, they then go through a series of checks. So they actually check our staff attendance recording system to check that individual actually was on duty. We then check through the short incident report to make sure that that individual and the appliance was actually on scene at the time. And then every member of London Fire Brigade has an ID photo. They have all been collated and stored as crews, and then we check the provisional identification of that individual against their ID photo.
I see. Was the individual CCTV snapshot referred to in the report actually verified with each firefighter, where the firefighter is described?
No.
In general terms, Mr. Bell, how reliable would you say the identification is?
I'm confident that in most cases it is absolutely reliable.
Thank you.
Where we are not sure around, we haven't named that individual, and you'll see that in the report we describe a firefighter rather than naming an individual, and that's because we're not 100% sure of the identification of that individual.
Yes. Now, you mentioned a moment ago something called the short incident log,
Yeah.
which is a document which has been disclosed, I think, recently, and it's under relativity reference MET 000-13830. Could you just describe that document and explain what it is?
So the short incident report is a, as you might expect, a summary of a long incident report. Even the short incident report for Grenfell Tower numbers nearly 400 pages. The long incident report is many more. The short incident report reduces or removes a number of system-generated logs, and I have some examples here if that's helpful to you.
Yes, please go ahead.
So, system-generated logs such as confirmation that actions have been completed, i.e. the incident turnout to Gulf 36, which would be Hammersmith Fire Station, for Gulf 362, Hammersmith Pump, has been completed. The log of action plans being implemented within control. Various actions are automatically generated by the vision system, and the long incident report will record those actions. And then confirmation that the resourcing requirements have been met. Each incident type generates a predetermined attendance, and when that predetermined attendance is actually on scene and confirmed on scene, it will generate a system log to say that the resourcing requirements have been met. Things like that are taken out of the long incident report.
Right. So just by way of example, you gave a moment ago that we didn't see on the screen. I wonder if, Mr. Trial Director, you could go to page 8 of this document. And Mr. Bell, I just want to see if I can ask you to clarify or explain the answer you just gave by reference to a particular entry. Now, here on the screen, we've got halfway down, this is page 8 of this document, under appliances, call sign or C sign G272 and then 271. We see that.
Yeah.
So that's been blown up. And we see station, or STM, G27, that's North Kensington.
It is.
And then some information going across the page. If you could just explain what those entries are for us.
So as you said, I'll start right at the left. So the call sign is the first three parts of that. So Gulf is the area where North Kensington originates. 27 is North Kensington's station number, and the 1 or the 2 relates to either it being a pump or a pump ladder. The station is replicated again as Gulf 27. That's the call sign for the station in general. Status 1 means they're mobile and available, or they are available for call. The next one, initial, I'm not entirely sure what that means, so I won't try to answer that. Assigned is the point where vision and the control operator assigns those individual appliances to an incident. Mm-hmm. Mobile is the time they book themselves en route to that incident. On scene is the time they arrive, so status 3, and then the available is when they leave that incident.
Thank you very much. And we've got status 1, and you've just described status 3 as on scene. What is status 2?
Status 2 is when they book mobile and are en route to that incident.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we can close that document down. Can I ask you then about going back to your ORR, the Operational Response Report. In there, we will see some timings of 999 calls. I just want to ask you about those, and by reference to an example, we'll take the first example, which is Mr. Kebede's call of 005429 on the 14th of June 2017. Where it appears in the ORR, what is that time?
So it might be useful to you to explain how the system works. All 999 calls originate actually at the BT exchange to start with. BT then moves that call through to a fire and rescue service if that's what the 999 caller has asked for. It comes into London Fire Brigade via our integrated communication control system, or ICS, and that's where the control room operator answers the call via the IX. When that call is answered, the vision system, which is our mobilising system, then opens a call collection form, which is recorded then in vision. The vision system itself and the data within the vision system is not accessible to all members of London Fire Brigade. It's a live system, and therefore we don't allow access to it generally beyond control and our information management team. So therefore we use an application called Desktop Viewer, which is accessible across all of our IT system. The time the call is answered, that time is recorded in vision and displayed on the BOSS Desktop Viewer. That is the time that we have applied to each of those calls.
You call the desktop viewer something, was it
BOSS.
BOSS? Right, and BOSS is what? Is that its trade name? Or?
That's his trade name,
Right.
I believe.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, in the case of call handlers who are operating in the Brigade control
Yes.
room, how have you identified the control room officer who handles any particular 999 call?
So within the control room, there are a number of individual workstations. When the control room staff come on duty at the start of their shift, they are assigned to a role and they are assigned to a workstation. They sign into that workstation with their own details, and Vision then recognises all of the actions that come out of that workstation.
Yes, thank you very much. Finally, I just want to ask you about the telemetry information that we have. And there's a schedule that was produced under cover of a statement from Mr. Malcolm Stanton.
Yes.
I'll give the relativity reference for that. And the reference is LFB 00003587, and it has a number of extracts or exhibits and extracts, and those are, and I'll just give the relativity references so that they are read into the record. Mr. Bell, I appreciate you won't have any questions or answers. I do have questions, but no answers as a result of this reading in. The references are LFB 00003583, 3582, 3586, 3584, 3581, and 3585, in all cases preceded by 4 zeros. So I read those formally into the record together with Mr. Stanton's witness statement. Now, in relation to that, there is the telemetry data, which is LFB 00003115, and it's there on the screen. Could you please explain to us what that document is?
But before you do, Mr. Bell, I wonder whether it would help us exactly if we could see at least a section of it rather larger so that we can follow your explanation. I think we've now got it, actually.
That's excellent.
That's split.
We may have to move across the page, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman, because
that's
it's in
right. No,
it's
that's
a spreadsheet. But
So as part of our collection and collation of data, that has involved retrieving the electronic data stored within each individual BA set, or breathing apparatus set, of which we took the data from over 1,000 breathing apparatus sets and a number of entry control boards which incorporate a telemetry system. Each set of data that comes from each individual set is collated, and sitting behind the spreadsheet that we're looking at now are a number of individual records. And this document is a summary of those individual records produced together, and as you'll see, it's in half an hour time slots. But it replicates the individual and relevant data from each of the collection from each individual breathing apparatus set.
So each set has a separate identification
Yes.
number,
Yes, which is shown on the left.
And you can tell which station it was operated from?
We
Is that
can
right?
do at the time. So that has taken some investigation. So each set is identified as either standard duration breathing apparatus, which is shown in column A. Each one of those sets then has an individual number. Those sets don't necessarily stay with a station for eternity after they're issued there. They go back to a central place for servicing. But a record is held within the protective equipment group who do that servicing as to where that set is located at the time. And that station, each of these individual sets has a hard copy BA logbook with it. And as part of the data retrieval, not only did we download the electronic data, but we then also took photographs of the individual logbook, and that data helped us identify where each set and confirm where each set was located in terms of the station.
Thank you.
Would it be helpful to go right across
Yes,
a
it would.
particular line?
Yes, exactly. If you could just show us the next section. Okay, I'm going to go left to right within the spreadsheet. So if we can just move, we go back to the original left-hand column. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then we have the station. There we go. There we go. We have, SDBA stands for
Standard duration breathing apparatus, and further down your document you'll see the ones that are coloured orange are denoted EDBA, which stands for extended duration breathing apparatus.
yes.
The second column is the individual serial number of that breathing apparatus set.
Then you have the station if known, and then the wearer if known. Could you please explain the different colour bands for each of the pairs of wearers or groups of wearers that we see as we go down?
So that is a piece of work that's been done not by the BA analyst himself, but by my operational response investigation team, and that is to denote the individual teams. Mm-hmm. So, for example, there Batterby and Brown are identified as a team of two who went in. If you look further down to columns, to rows 23, you'll see there is a crew of 5 starting with Wolfenden and ending with Gallagher, and those colours are only to identify those individual teams.
So where they are linked by colour, they have been committed as a group?
As a group,
From
yes.
the bridgehead?
That's it.
Thank you. And the next column across, just take this very quickly, vehicle charger disconnected. What does that tell us?
So that is the point that the BA setter is removed from its housing within the appliance, and that is captured on the electronic data system held within the bodyguard unit on the individual BA set.
Very good. And where, as we see for Christopher Dorgu, it's in red. Can you tell us what that is?
So that will be one of the that will be an anomaly, and you would have to ask Mr. Stanton to explain that anomaly. But there are, as you might imagine, in any of these types of technical systems, certain anomalies that will arise.
Very good. And moving across then, further across the page to the right-hand side, if we look at column G, switch on button is, I think, probably self-explanatory. Is it?
That is at the point where if you press the left-hand button on the bodyguard, that will switch on that bodyguard unit.
Right. And then could you explain the next column, coloured in green, I suppose green, khaki green, that's green there. Tally out. What does tally out mean?
So the tally, so there is an individual tally for that breathing apparatus set. The tally fits into the bodyguard unit, and when an individual is committed into the hazard area, that tally is removed from the bodyguard unit, which arms the bodyguard unit and is then placed within an entry control board. And that time that you see there highlighted in green is the time that tally was taken out. So that would have been at the time the individual got to the bridgehead and reported to the entry control officer.
Right. And then initial pressure is...
So
can I
that's...
go back and ask a question?
Yes.
On tally out. So tally out would be the time you say he reports to the entry control officer.
It will be the exact time he removes the tally from the bodyguard unit. So that should be, in most cases, at the point he arrives at the bridgehead and goes to the entry control officer, because the bridgehead will be within what we call a safe air environment.
Yes.
So he doesn't require respiratory protection at that point.
And just so we're clear, that's not the time, is it, that the BA wearer either goes under air or leaves the bridgehead?
No.
Right. Then let's move across the page to column I, initial pressure. That's probably self-explanatory, but if you
So
could just
at
tell
the
us what
point
that
he
is.
removes the tally and arms the bodyguard, and the BA set is switched on and charged with air, that is the pressure that's recorded within the BA set at that point.
Thank you. And then column J, logged on to ECB. Could you please explain what that is?
So that is the point that the tally, having been removed from the bodyguard, is placed into one of the slots in the entry control board, and the telemetry signal between the BA set and the entry control board is established.
And I think, is it fair to say that in most cases that is within a few seconds or a minute perhaps of the tally out?
Yes.
And where there are differences, we will have to explore those. Then you have column K, the highest breathing rate.
So as I said, there is an individual record associated with that breathing apparatus wear that has been downloaded. From the information that is downloaded, that is a record there of the highest breathing rate recorded by that individual. And that column has been added for my benefit, really, because this was such a large BA deployment, probably the largest BA deployment we've ever seen within the UK. It is giving us a set of data and statistics that I suspect will never be replicated. And that data will be useful in terms of identifying physiological impact on firefighters and allow manufacturers to maybe challenge their assumptions around what maximum breathing rates can be going forward.
In terms of rate, could you just explain what the number represents, if you know?
So it represents litres per minute.
Litres per minute?
Yeah. So the breathing apparatus set, the nominal value for breathing is 50 litres per minute. And as you can see there, on occasions that was much higher.
And if you could then please go to column L, tally into bodyguard. Could you please explain what that is?
So after the firefighter's been deployed and he comes back to the bridgehead and reports to the entry control officer, his tally is returned to him, and generally that tally would be immediately placed back into the bodyguard.
And where there's a not recorded, what would that tell us?
It shows that the tally, when taken from the entry control board, was not immediately put back into the tally, or the individual, when he got back into safe air and shut his set down, didn't actually retrieve his tally. And I think that's an indication of the state of some of the individual BA wearers when they came out of that environment, that they weren't in a position to do what they would normally do under normal procedures, which would be to report to the entry control officer, receive their tally and shut the set down in the normal way.
Right. Well, we'll have to ask them about that. Then column M, final pressure. Could you just explain briefly what that is?
So at the point the BA set is shut down, that is the pressure left within the set at that point. So they start off with somewhere between 240 and 300 bar, and that pressure there is, as you can see, the top one is 80 bar,
And
which again is below where we would normally expect them to come out. So they get an alert at 84 bar, which suggests to them they are getting to a low pressure position. At 74 bar plus minus 5 bar, they actually get a low pressure warning whistle that continually sounds. Normal procedure is for an individual to be out of the hazard area by the time they get to the point of 84 bar.
Yes, thank you. And then the next column is N, end of wear time. Could you just explain how that
So that is
generated?
that is a point in time where the individual stops breathing, and that gets recorded. So that will be the point that they remove the mask and close down the set. So it's the last recorded breath that's taken before the set is shut down, and that's that point in time.
Very good. And then the next one, column O, bodyguard switched off? Tally. What's that?
So that is just switch off the bodyguard unit by, there's a button on the right of the unit, you press that button, and that is the time that the bodyguard has been switched off.
Right. And then column P, logged off, modem shutdown. And what's that?
So that is the point that the BA set has logged off of the telemetry system. So it's at the point where the entry control board is no longer talking to the BA set and recording the data.
And where it's not recorded, what can one tell from that?
That has been where the set hasn't been shut down in line with the agreed procedure. So that is probably where the air supply within the set has not been shut off at that point, and that set has been moved away. The tally has gone back in. The set hasn't been shut down. The entry control board continues to try and talk to the individual BA set. Once it gets out of range, it as you can see there, it would say not recorded.
Yes. And air used is, I think, self-explanatory. It's in bars, isn't it? I think.
Yes, that's it. So
down.
that will be from the point, the initial amount, and a calculation around what the final pressure was.
Until what? Until the end of wear time.
Till the end of wear time.
And then finally, column R, the duration of wear. What is that? What is the measure of that duration?
So that will be at the point. That will be the point between they start breathing under air and the end of wear time.
Very good. Okay, thank you very much. And just for completeness' sake, you mentioned that lower down the document there were different colours for EDBA.
Yes.
Can you just identify where on the screen we see examples of EDBA?
So they are coloured orange there. So there we go, and so row 39 there through to 43 are identified as extended duration breathing apparatus sets.
Thank you very much.
And they are carried on specific vehicles within London Fire Brigade.
Mr. Bell. Mr. Bell, thank you very much indeed. Mr. Chairman, I haven't got any further questions for Mr. Bell, unless you have.
No, I've been asking mine as we went along, so that's fine. And thank you very much indeed for coming to give your evidence.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Mr. Chairman, that concludes the evidence for the day. And I'm in your hands as to where we go next. Our next witness is Mr. Dowden, who we're proposing to take on Monday morning.
Would you like to break there? Is that going to be the most convenient course to take?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Well, we'll have a rather early finish for the day, but there are other things that people can do. So we'll break now, and we'll resume on Monday morning.
Monday morning.
At 10 o'clock, unless otherwise advised.
Yes, please.
Yes, good. All right. Thank you very much.